Hello, future designers and developers, welcome back. We are going to be starting the JavaScript for this to-do list app that we are creating over here. The first video was on adding the HTML, but now we're going to be creating a to-do list app that will allow us to type in something into our input. We've got that over here. Hit our send button and then add this item to our page. So we're really going to be focusing on creating this element in this video, and then in the next one we're going to add in the functionality of being able to hit on these buttons, whether it is complete and do a little toggle over there, or delete and remove the item entirely. So let's get started with that. So inside of our JavaScript, we are going to call out some variables that we're going to need. The first of which is going to be the actual input itself, because we're going to be getting the value from this input over here. It doesn't really matter the order that we do these in, but I'm just going to do this one first. So we're going to call this one our to-do input, and this is going to be equal to our document dot query selector. And the query that we are selecting is our to-do input, and that is the name of the class that we assigned over here. So if we go into our HTML, this is our to-do input. So I'm grabbing all of these from our first video, going to be using the same language throughout that. Cool. Let me see if I can move this over just a hair, just so I have all that. Cool. As soon as I hit enter, oh well. All right, the next one that we are going to be adding in is going to be the actual button that we would hit to add the to-do. So we're going to call this our to-do button. And that's going to be equal to our document dot query selector. And that one, we named it add to-do. And don't forget the period. Query selector needs that if we're doing a class or ID. All right, and the last variable that we need to declare is going to be the area that we're going to store these in. So this is going to be our to-do list, which is equal to our document dot query selector. And this is that div that we named aptly to-do list. All right, cool. So now we've got, this is our actual area right here that we write in. This is the button that we hit, and then this is the area that we can't see right now, but it has our to-dos inside of it. So we are going to be able to write something in here, hit this button, and then store that into this new area that we have just declared over here. Cool. Those are our three areas. I also probably could just shorten this up because I don't need the semicolons, just to force a habit. Cool. All right. I want to make sure I'm still visible. Cool. All right. So now that we've got those three things in here, we're going to be starting with our first function. And our first function is very simple. It's just the one that we're going to be doing to add our to-dos. So this first function that we're going to create, let's call out function, and we're going to call it add to-do. And I'm going to capitalize that, keep the camel case. Add to-do. We're not going to pass through any arguments over here. But we are going to need to have an event listener that is going to trigger this. So let's create that before we even write out the entire function. Now we want to assign this function to this button over here. So we're going to call out this to-do button, and we're going to give it an event listener. So we're going to call out to-do button dot add event listener. The event that we're looking for is a click, and then the function that we are going to do is add to do. All right. So there we go. We have got our event listener that is looking for a click on this button, and it's going to run this function. Cool. Let's just make sure that this is working. So we're going to do a console.log, and let's say hello world. So inside of my console, I clear this all up. I hit this button. Yeah, we got hello world a whole bunch of times. That's perfect. It's doing what we needed to do. I'm going to close this up so we don't get all the errors as I type this out. Cool. All right. So now the first thing that we're going to do is actually a little tricky. I'm going to keep this hello world in there for a second. It's something that we haven't done before. We're going to do an event and we're going to do a prevent default. So because this button is a submit button, typically when you submit a form, it refreshes the page, but we don't want it to actually refresh the page because that would get rid of anything that we had typed on here. And if we're trying to save things in local storage, eventually it's just, we do not want our default over here. So we're going to prevent the default from happening, which is just, if I comment this out, this stops us from refreshing on submit. Cool. All right. So now the next thing that we're going to do, we are going to create a div that is going to hold both the text that we have over here and then our delete and complete buttons, because we want those all inside of one div. So this is going to be create a div to hold to do and complete delete buttons. Cool. All right, those are going to be the things that we want to do with creating this div. So let's go create this. So const, I'm going to call this one our to-do div. This is going to be equal to our document dot create element, and the element that we're creating is a div. So we're going to type that out right there. All right. Document.create element. So we've got the element created. We also want to add a class to it. So we're going to do a to-do div dot add class and, or I'm sorry, not add class. I'm shortening that. We want class list dot add, and the class that we're going to add to this div is just going to be to do. It's going to be our most basic class. So this is going to be really helpful for us when we're actually formatting this, because we want all these to be displayed properly, making sure that everything goes into the proper rows. So we've got this class of to do. Cool. All right. Now we want to create the things that go inside of it. So now I'm going to comment this. We're going to create the list item to throw into our to-do. All right, so we're going to do this the same way. We're going to do const. It's going to be a lot of this. This is going to be our new to-do, and this one over here, when we create this new to-do, we want to create a list item. So we're going to do document dot create element, and this one is going to be an li. Cool. Same thing, we want to make sure that we're adding a class to this. So we're going to do our new to do dot class list dot add. This we are going to give it a class of to do item. So just in case we want to format just the text over there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set this value equal to whatever our input is. So we've got this const new to do document query selector to do input. So that's anything that's written inside of here. We're going to take that value. So we're going to say that our new to do dot inner text is equal to this right here, our to do input. I'm just going to copy that. Dot value. Cool. So we've got our new to do. The inner text is equal to whatever our to do input value is. That's it. All right. So now that we have all this, we actually have to append this back to the new to-do, or the to-do div. So what we're going to do is we're going to call out this to-do div that we have just had, and we're going to attach it. So over here, we're going to append our new to-do to the to-do div. That's what we're going to do. So let's take our to-do div, and we're going to dot append child. Cool. And the child that we are going to be appending is our new to-do. Cool. All right, let's see if this works. We should be getting something over here. So we're going to go in here and let's just add in hello. Oh, it's because I have this new to-do div. I haven't appended that to the document yet. So let's do that. We have got our to-do list over here, and we're going to append our to-do div to that to-do list. It's a lot of appending. So I'm going to create another one, and we are going to append our to-do div to our to-do list. So this is going to be our to-do list dot append child, and this one is going to be our to-do div. All right, now if we throw in hello over here all funky like, we got it. It's our list item, and then it's got some text on it. Sweet. That looks good. We're going to keep this at the bottom over here because what we want to do next is we want to add in those buttons. So we want to add in our check that we're done and our delete button. So this is going to be fairly straightforward. Oh, we also want to clear that once we have it submitted, but we'll do that in a second. So yeah. All right. Next thing, we've got our adding our to-do. I'm going to move before this. And I am actually going to append our buttons to our to-do div, so right after our inner text. So this is, let's create our complete button. Cool. All right, so inside of here, we're going to create a constant. And this is going to be our complete button. So I'm going to call this complete btn. And it's going to be equal to document.create element. The element that we are creating is a button. And we've got that right there. Now what we want to actually do is we want to take an icon and put that inside of it. So this is going to be a little bit more intensive, or use another new skill. So we're going to call out our complete button, and inside of this we're going to do an inner HTML because we're going to be using HTML tags, and that's going to be equal to, and this is all inside of I'm going to use backticks because I've got some quotations inside of this, and it's going to be equal to a button. So let's go over here and let's go over to Ion. I am going to look for a check. Cool. We're going to keep it simple with this check design. Cool. All right, I can now throw in that check over here. We've got the Ion icon, we've got the name, we've got the check outline. And one thing that I'm also going to do to this is I'm going to give it a class inside of here, and I'm going to give this class a class of complete PTN. The reason I'm doing that is because I could call out complete.ptn, class list, add, but I don't want to do that. This is going to save me some time, and I just can throw it into the code over here. So now I've got this button over here, and all I have to do is I need to take my to-do div dot append, and I'm going to append the child of So now if I type in here, hello, I've got my check button after it, right over here. Cool. Let's do the same thing with the trash button. All I'm gonna do is I'm going to copy and paste this. I'm gonna copy and paste the comment too. And this one, instead of doing complete, this is gonna be delete. So instead of saying const complete button, we're gonna say delete button. We're still creating a button. Our delete button inside inner HTML is going to be equal to not this check outline. It's not going to have a complete button class either. It's going to have a delete button class. Well, let's see, what do we want to change this name to? Let's go over here and let's take a look at trash. Let's do this one. That one right here, I can copy out that text. And I'm just gonna delete all this. I'll have to rewrite the class, but it's not a big deal. So over here, we'll type back in that class is equal to delete button. Cool, and we want to append our delete button. All right. So now if I type out this to do and I say hello, I've got my check and I've got my delete and I've got this text over here. So everything is exactly where we need it to be. We just don't have it formatted the way that we want. Now the last thing that I want to do in this video tutorial is we've got hello written over here. Now that I've typed this, I want to clear whatever is inside of this input. So at the very end over here, I'm going to make another comment. I'm going to say this is clear input. So we're going to call out our to-do input and we are going to give it a value. I'm going to assign it a new value of nothing. So after we append the child, we're going to set this back to 0. So if I say yo, it goes back to 0. So now I've got my new to do, and this will continue to work. So I can also say like eat lunch, throw that in there, and now it has been added at the end. So we still have this one at the top, and then this one gets added on after it. We can say hello, and now we've got our 3 items inside of here. So feel free to do what you want with the CSS to make these look nicer. We're going to add a little bit of CSS so that we can see what happens when we hit the check mark. But that's going to happen in our next video. So thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you